live. Let's see. Do we have an event in the server? Oh, start event. Start event.
I didn't see that part.
You know where it's audio check. Audio check. Okay. Well, look at all these new faces that are jumping in and out. I guess I have feedback here. How's everybody doing? Who said the same shit for the last 72 weeks? It's been a lot of different shit. I don't know why so-and-so would FUD their own bag. What are you so sad about? Bitcoin's up at like 700,000%, right? Yeah. Yeah, like I don't know, yeah, same as the last 72 weeks, likely, haha. Are you upbeat or are you downbeat? Are you praising me for my consistency or are you sad? Well, I hope you get well soon, whatever it is. Anyways. Believe it or not, like, I really wish I had one more day for this stream because I finally, like, dialed in the aesthetic to bring you guys a movie poster and a flip book. I'll probably be able to render this flip book in the next 24 hours or so. I'm going to show you at least what the starting image looks like on the screen here. Maybe not immediately. Maybe we'll talk to you guys and see how you're doing today. Maybe not tomorrow, but someday. Alessio, yeah. Again, persistence is omnipotence. And by the way, like I really think that we're going to build something that's more powerful in marketing than I guess other projects. Like I've been talking about that for 72 weeks. Sorry, not 72 weeks. Only since December. Only since How to Tell When to Sell. Because that was the first time I learned to stop listening to crypto people about marketing. I apologize for being late. We had a flash flood warning here and a power outage. And I was just recoiling into a fit of anxiety, and I had to enter the fetal position and rock myself back and forth because I hadn't been without internet for 15 minutes in so long. I kind of like forgot what type of animal I am. I'm sure you guys can relate. I'm sure that happens to everybody, right? Thank you, Adelito. Yeah, thank you, Javery. Anyways, I'll get a quick survey. Are you guys at least ready to see the V? I'm not even call it the V1. I'm gonna call it the version 0.9 of the movie poster image. Are you guys actually ready to see this? Because I think I'm not gonna make the announcement until tomorrow with the actual flip book, right? I'll make an announcement tomorrow with the actual flip book. I'm gonna tell you, literally, I was in the middle of this and I got rushed because, of course, I wasn't gonna push back this show any longer. But I will ask Mr. Producer to go ahead and put it on the screen. There you go. There you go. The investment of Fergus Fenbrook. And I realize I don't know what size screen you're looking at, so to speak. But yeah, it took a long time. Thank you, Javery. By the way, the entire website will get an aesthetic overhaul as well to probably make it just look a little bit more cozy, if that makes sense. This image right here, I realized that it's it also has this learnpire.com. This image is supposed to have like the log line down there in the bottom left, but like I didn't have time to do that. Yeah, Alessio, I should hope so. The goal, again, is that this type of content can now be mass produced. So I did spend weeks and weeks on this, right? And are you guys aware how long it took for, I'll give you guys an example. All of the artwork, whether it's on the landing page or whether it's on like the DApp, because it was done through Midjourney and it was not done with like consistency toolkits, it all took between 4 hours and like 11 hours to make. Does that make sense? Like 11 hours per image. 4 hours to 11 hours per image. Does that make sense? Now, you might be saying, but Five, it took you 6 weeks to make this image. That's not true. That's not true. Rather, I had to dial in for the Century Circus and Pyre. I had to dial in this process where I could literally generate the visuals for this fucking guy named Fergus Fenbrook to go on an entire movie adventure like in less time than it took to make the art for the fucking website and the DApp. Does that make sense? So this technology is really on the bleeding edge. Does that make sense? Like I'm probably now in the top 200 people on the planet that know how to use it. I'm just being honest. I've had to, yeah. Oh, Alessio, not necessarily. It's just red there because it balances that image. Does that make sense? However, that font, or rather a derivative of that font, might replace Allegard. Does that make sense? That font is a little bit easier to read. At least that's how it's been voted. Does that make sense? So, yeah, that font or derivatives of that font might replace Allegard, but like, it's just red there because it makes sense for the image. Yeah, I actually think it doesn't work in the learnpyre.com URL, but I'm not going to nitpick the thing. Yeah, exactly. I'm not going to nitpick the thing that I'm presenting to you live, but I am, right? Anyways. I'll actually just announce a flipbook. The flipbook will be like 5, 6, 7, 8, or 8 images. These will be actual images that are, I guess you could say, version 1s from the actual content project, meaning these images kind of like, they'll be like a trailer. It'll be like an image trailer. Does that make sense? And it'll give you a little bit more about the plot line. It'll give you, and most importantly, it'll kind of give you guys a visual of what the fuck has been going on over here. Does that make sense? I mean, I've been using this set now for like 2 months, and you guys have been expecting that like more new things will happen. Yeah, this is true. Yeah, the haters will be happy. But you know what, Alessio? Legitimately, after learning marketing, there's a psychological effect called fluency, and you want to always activate fluency whenever possible. So when you use a font like Allegard, if it interrupts people's fluency, they immediately stop learning about the project. Yeah, so like if they don't have a motivation to push past the font, they just won't. Yeah, and that's unfortunate, but that's how human beings work. Yeah. Anyways, yeah, I hope you guys are chipper. I don't know what there is to be sad about. Yeah, Javer is what it is. After this here is done, after Learn Pyre is done, there doesn't need to be any more, well, I guess there doesn't need to be any more manual marketing where it's just me pushing the entire boulder up the hill. Rather, like, anybody can reference anybody through this experience. And I don't know if you guys noticed, Meme Coin Season demonstrated the value of content marketing, so we're just gonna overwhelm the internet with content marketing. And to be honest, I don't think I've ever seen a crypto project like release this much content for their project. Does that make sense? Like, I remember, do you remember the stories I was writing in like December, January? Yeah, exactly. So the point of that is, I mean, they had that plot line for, you know, Go, the AI meme coin. Do you guys remember that? But I still don't think that one is very immersive. Let's put it that way. Anyways, do you guys have any questions? Because arguably, I have not given a fuck about any current events. Like, I don't know. Like, I'm legitimately just trying to maximally get this thing produced. Yeah. Jay, for sure. I know that people are like more and more sad because that we stream less, but to be honest, I'm not gonna go back to streaming more. Yeah, like I think that once Learn Pyre exists, and I guess once there's more, I think once there's just more structured content, that won't be as necessary because like there'll be video content that kind of remains in circulation. We're also going to upgrade the Discord server so it's one of those fancy ones where it has like a welcome screen and stuff. You get what I'm saying? You know what I mean? In the world of AI, people still use Discord, by the way. I'm not yeah, anyways, okay. You guys have been hearing me talk about this for the last, I don't know, 17 years. So, like, I'm not upset that you guys are upset, or whoever is. Yeah, Alessio, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Like, at least with a week, it's like, hey, I can at least find something new to show. And additionally, doing that many streams, it's like 2 hours of interruptions a day. Because if I even use Discord, it's like I have 90 minutes of distractions getting shoveled at me. And quite often, it's not really... Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Abuelito, 100%. And that is what this is for. Yeah, that is what this is for, if you guys aren't aware. Anyways. Yeah, do you guys have any questions? I legitimately did nothing other than just, at least today, other than like make sure that I could get at least one of these images finalized to at least be show ready. I'm not gonna announce it yet because I think that I'm still gonna spend like another day working on it. But then I'm gonna announce it, and then you guys will at least have some actual teaser content that I'm at least okay with being circulated. In the past, I had no problem just like announcing this like half-finished PDF or something like that, and I don't think that helped. Does that make sense? Like I think a lot of the new phone background. Yeah, there you go. Exactly, Jerry. I don't think that helped. I don't think that me releasing a lot of like half-finished content helped. Does that make sense? Especially if it was half-finished documentation. So I think that it's just more important that I finish content before actually like circulating it. Does that make sense? I had to, I had to change a lot of what I was doing in 2024. Yeah. Anyways, any other questions? Do you guys want to talk about theory or calculus or anything like that? Yeah, you can have the Discord on the screen as it were. I can draw something on the board if you guys want. You guys want to see a smiley face? Do you guys want me to go through two-share valuation again? Okay, here's what I can talk about, and I'm gonna talk about I guess the paradigm. Sometimes standing up is good for thinking. And this whiteboard needs to get cleaned. Who's in charge of that? Me? All right. Talk something about PyFam. Okay, so I was listening to a podcast recently about availability and consistency, and one of the I think it was Fexer or somebody was saying that the IWV is not as exciting as it used to be. I don't know if that's true because we stopped streaming so much, or maybe it was just more exciting at like the peak of Genesis or something. And I want you guys to understand that if you are sad that the IWV doesn't feel as exciting as it used to be, whether that's because PyFam is whatever, I want you guys to know the goal was kind of for that to always be the case, because the 6-hour schedule of the IWV happening every 6 hours, that's meant to be the event that's least rare, if that makes sense. Like, so let's say you have 3,600 minutes in a day. Okay. Right? Is that right? Okay, so therefore, like, you have one incantation every 720 minutes, right? Damn, it's only 1440? It is 1440. I knew that too. Yeah, it's not 720 either. Yeah, that would be 360. Yeah, I should have that memorized, to be honest. Because I use the number 960. I use the number 960. Oh, never mind. Okay. So there's one incantation every 360 minutes, right? Does that make sense? I do have flood brain. Yeah, I do have flood brain. Anyways, so in theory, what this kind of implies is that if we assume that the ultimate minute is the only time it's kind of exciting, this kind of implies that out of 360 minutes, there's this 1 minute, right? We'll call it the IWV minute, right? This is more exciting, though, than the other 359 minutes. Does that make sense? Does that make sense? Okay, so people say like the IWV, it's not as exciting as it used to be, but it's still way more exciting than the other 359 minutes in between incantations. Does that make sense to you guys? Like, relatively. Alessio, I want to say it's probably the other way around. I don't think we're experiencing delays. Yeah. I don't think we're actually experiencing delays. Yeah, I think I just need to stop, like, giving timelines out. Yeah. Yeah. Anyways, okay. 1,440 minutes a day, one incantation, because I think really it's more about managing expectations than anything else. So the one incantation, this minute is more exciting than the other 359, right? You guys follow me here? Okay, so are you guys aware that the future roadmap of Pyre, this includes both for like Tomb Forks and for Pyre Phantom, which came in night game. There are more and more epoch triggered events. Are you guys aware of this? Like even right now, technically the Mead Gate and the IWV are triggered at the same time. Right? You guys familiar with this? Okay, yeah. So legitimately on the same minute, the Mead Gate opens, if it is in fact conditional, and the incantation, the incants are also distributed. Does that make sense to you guys? Like every eligible minute. Yeah, JB, correct. Yeah. Yeah, and also that sucks, to be honest. Like, I don't know, that isn't really something that, yeah, have you read the roadmap in the docs? Like, if you guys haven't read the roadmap in the docs, like, that's all, everything in the roadmap is still getting done. We just changed the order of some stuff. Yeah. Yeah, if you haven't read the roadmap in the docs, please do. Yeah, it's in its own section. Anyways, the point of it is that, like, the goal is to have more and more events that show up less frequently than the IWV. Does that make sense? Like, so, you've got IWV, this is every 6 hours. Right? Then you can also have, like, meeting, and this is, like, conditionally. But also, in theory, every 6 hours. What else? The boardroom, conditionally. Right? You guys following? Technically, the IWV is conditional on being below peg, but you guys know that, right? Anyways, in order to justify like a larger total supply, which means justifying a larger TBL, which means like, do you guys know what I mean when I say spreading out horizontally, like growing the project horizontally? I realize a lot of what I say is like gibberish, like technobabble, and that's also a great reason to not stream as much, because then I'm just spouting less technobabble. Meaning to increase market cap, to increase TVL, to increase volume, increase liquidity, you want to increase the total supply of all the elastic supply tokens, right? Like the supply expands and contracts based on like how the user base of the project kind of like allows it to, right? The economy of the project allows it to, right? And this is all user base dependent. Making sense? So there are other things that can trigger. Some of them, I'll give you an example, are arcade games, right? A long time ago, there was even an arcade game built for 2 ohm. Do you guys remember this? Okay, yeah, it was called 2 Pace Invaders, right? It was anyways. Point being, like, that was arguably a good idea in its own sense, but, well, unless, I mean, it's just Space Invaders. Yeah, so, like, I mean, to each their own. I'm not saying that you have to be good at these, right? The point of it is that the fact that these things exist create new demand for the token. Does that make sense? In phase 2, we have this, we have a token called PYRE, right? P-Y-R-E. And this is I guess you can't say multi-chain, you can't say omni-chain, you can say cross-chain. It's a layer 0 token, I think, at least on paper. And there's a system where this token is always not only going to incentivize liquidity at a much more conservative level, but also it fills up, I guess you could say, it fills up like, damn. I think I call it like the treasure trove or the treasure hoard contract or something. It fills up this jackpot contract. This jackpot contract gives payouts to people who win the arcade games and get on the leaderboard. Make sense? Yeah. So, in order to keep the jackpot full, the first place only gets like 50% of the pot. Does that make sense? And the rest of it just starts refilling again, right? So in order to play, you would use Pyre Phantom. Although I think we'll have different arcade games for different coins. So like 2 ohm, can you use a different one? But you can win like Pyre, the token. I think probably also the same token you're playing with too. I think it'll be like a multi-token jackpot, if that makes sense. And legitimately, this Trove contract is also what allows this token that we're continuing to emit to farms kind of like go through these long-term deflation periods where I was going to make this token decay, right? But as you guys are aware, we turned off decay. And I don't think decay is going to work for Pyre either because it's just too much mental math. And until I write a fucking fantasy fiction story that teaches people how to consider assets in a basket, it doesn't make sense to like bring it back. Does that make sense? So the way that we effectively deflate it is that we basically cause it to, let me give you guys an example. Let's think of, I'm gonna give you guys a bunch of ratios here, right? So let's do 90-10. Let's do 70-30. Let's do 50-50. Let's do 30-70. Let's do 10-90. Right? Are you guys following this? Broccoli? Jerry, broccoli is in fact what Fergus Fenbrook's father has planted this season. Yeah, that's a little homage for you guys who have been that's a little wink and a nod for the people who are OG fucking pyre heads, right? Okay, you guys don't understand like the general pattern here of this thing. You guys get that it's mirrored or whatever? Okay, so Jerry, imagine, if you will, that this shit is actually a sine wave, right? We'll say it's sinusoidal, right? You guys all understand one of these? Have I ever written one of these on the board before? Or on any board? Have you guys ever heard me talk about one of these? A waveform? Okay, fantastic. I imagine as much. Alright. Anyways, so yeah, of course. Alright, so imagine, if you will, that these ratios right here is like a divvy. Let's say that we have two things in Pyre. We will have like the farms, and then we'll also probably have the Trove. I don't know if I'm going to call it Trove because I know there was another project called Trove, but you know what, fuck it, I might call it Trove anyway, just because, you know, fuck them, right? Like I don't know if that project's still going on, but yeah, like why not call it Trove, right? Or Horde. I don't know if Trove or Horde is better, right? Anyways, so imagine, if you will, you like Horde better, like the Dragon's Horde, as it were, right? That does make sense, yeah, like putting it more in the Horde, right? Okay, so imagine, if you will, that there are, and you can think of this as epoch per epoch. Does that make sense? Imagine, if you will, as the epochs go by, it shifts the ratio of which Pyre is emitted to the farms or to the trove. Does that make sense? It's not exactly epoch per epoch, by the way. There's a much more complicated system, but this is the most simplistic way I'll explain it to you, right? So if you were to divide this into like 5 segments, it would be like you have 90 here is like 90 to the fucking, it's like 90 to the farms and 10% of the trove, then 70, and then splits. And then it goes back and forth. Does that make sense? It goes back and forth, right? It sways. What this means is that like during the times of low emissions to the farms, or should I say high emissions, as everybody here is aware, when you have high emissions to the farms, it inflates, does it not? As people deepen liquidity, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah. So what you can do is you can in fact tuck it away in the fucking trove. Does that make sense? And in order to free that money up, people have to play games for it. I want you guys to know something. It doesn't switch rates automatically. What it does is it switches based on Pyre's price history against itself. Does that make sense? So when Pyre is down in price, it will naturally taper its emission rate so that more of it goes to the trove. Does that make sense? It's only when Pyre's price starts going up that it will begin tapering back and putting some in the farms again. Make sense to you guys? So like the trove money can get emitted dozens of ways. I guess at the end of this we'll end this. This will never end, let's be honest. Okay? The trove though, the money gets harder and harder to get because as people fucking, win at this so-and-so arcade game, they set a new high score. Does that make sense? Yeah. So like, Alessio, as I'm sure you understand, if you keep giving these fucking payouts for like this new high score, eventually it gets harder and harder to get this new high score. Does that make sense? So you end up with, I don't know, $700,000 in a jackpot to beat the high score for Space Invaders. Does that make sense? Like it isn't quite feasible. Do you get what I'm saying? And that's how you get, the arcade games also only gate open and gate shut on conditions. Does that make sense? Like they're not open every 6 hours like the IWV. Does that make sense? I had a calendar set up in notes and it was like every 7 epochs, one of the arcade games would open or something like that. Make sense? So like you're only gonna be able to play it for 6 hours and literally every day and a half or so to speak. Does that make sense? Yeah. So like when the arcade game gets shut, people can just watch that jackpot fill up with more emissions. Does that make sense? Yeah. The dice game is part of the game. Alessio, it can be, but the dice game I think is like more player versus player. I will tell you this. Jay, so I like doing like a random number like 7 or 11 or 13 or even like 29 epochs, by the way. So the numbers are these longer cycles are always odd numbers because the reason we have 4 like epochs a day is so that we're not biased towards one time zone or one continent. Does that make sense? Because if people are playing in Europe or America or Asia or Australia or Africa or I guess South America too, right? Like you don't want to end up with like, hey, if you don't live in this time zone in this country, it'll never work out for you. Does that make sense? So the goal is that like by making it a fucking random time, first of all, you spread out. I've been talking about this for like, whatever his face was right. I have been talking about this for 72 years for sure. Like legitimately, it's about spreading this moment out. And of course, for those of you who remember, back when this was an exciting project and we weren't just waiting on 5 to build the goddamn Great Wall of China, people were getting their attention split between Metatraj and the IWV, right? Do you remember those days, Alessio? When it was like, you probably couldn't do both because like the opportunity would get fucking eaten by somebody else. Do you guys remember that? It happened, during the 2024 golden age. Yeah, Alessio, you'll see soon that those are the bad days, okay? Like, honest to God, all of 2024 is, going to be like For real, for real. We haven't even been to the real game yet. The real game is in the Viratile range, where the IWV can go arcane multiple times a fucking week. Does that make sense to you guys? Does that make sense? Arguably, I wouldn't even call it the Gold Rush era. Yeah, the real game is when you see the fucking thing go arcane multiple times a week. Does that make sense? Maybe on multiple fucking chains, right? Yeah, but anyways, yeah. The time slot rotates, and then also there's other arcade games. Like, I don't plan on releasing one arcade game. I think what I want to do is release 4 arcade games, one for Pyre Phantom, one for 2 ohm, one for 3 ohm, and one for Z ohm. Does that make sense? I want you guys to know something. Yeah, I want you guys to know something. It's not actually farms. It's not actually farms against Trove. It's farms against Trove against PWV. Maybe I will. Maybe I will, Pie Producer, because the Prisoner's Dilemma is a famous game theory concept, and arguably, yeah, I'll tell you this: there are some games that in theory involve crime as well, right? Yeah, Jerry. I mean, also get good. I mean, sounds like it's a possible skill issue on your end. Yeah, like I mean, if you don't like, there's like. The goal is so that it isn't like one way to make money in the project, because that's fucking illiterate. Does that make sense? But the fact that we make these games scarce and then gated, that's what jacks up the value of playing Space Invaders in the first place. Does that make sense? Yeah. Right? Like when 2 Space Invaders was built for 2 ohm, it was kind of cool for like a gimmick, but like it's much more interesting if you can win $1,000 playing. Does that make sense? You know, I'm not, but Pyre Producer is a big Elden Ring and Souls guy. Yeah. Although I do like the occasional Metroidvania, which sometimes is compared to Souls-like games. Yeah. We definitely will have Metroidvania in the game verse of this project, but that's a bit farther away for sure. Yeah. You know what? It doesn't need to be. Like, there's, like, I mean, it depends. It depends. Yeah, for sure. Anyways, more on that way fucking later. In theory, in reality, the way that it toggles will actually be balancing 3 emissions. Does that make sense? So, farms are farms. You guys all know how farms work, right? If anyone has any questions about, like, liquidity farms, it's perpetual. Okay, no questions? Trove. Now the Trove can go to arcade games, but it also goes to like other things too. Like the Trove is something that we can always build more shit onto. Does that make sense to you guys? Right? Okay. And the third thing is the PWV, also known as the Pyre Witchfall. Make sense? Completely different Witchfall. Okay? Completely different Witchfall. And you stake Pyre to get Pyre. Make sense? And yes, there is smoldering in that one. Now, I haven't built this yet, but I've been thinking that like this one shouldn't be distributed all at once. I think this one should be like omitted over time. Make sense? It's not a duplicate. Yeah. Yeah. It collects a different coin, Javery. It collects a different coin. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, Javery, there will be dozens of witch vaults in this project. Yeah. Dozens of them. Yeah. Do you guys know about the quest? Yeah. All voting will be witch vaults. Yeah. Have I talked about dueling witch vaults? Yeah. The hero's quest. Yeah. Legitimately, like the choose your own adventure utility. you'll also vote with you'll also vote with the tokens that are all voted in witch vault style. Yeah. Well, Javery, I mean, like, arguably, I wanted to build Circus DAO in 2022. You know, I think that, like, when you build new stuff, that's where you have to just realize how long things can take. But once Learn Pyre is done, I guess, yeah, all that's left to do is accelerate. I don't have to, like, marketing is, yeah. We actually have marketing infrastructure at that point. I could quote some other marketing guys for you, but you guys don't really care. Anyways. Yeah. Anyways, hey, you guys have any other questions? That's just more future stuff. But really, that's just, you know, theory. Okay. Anyways, yeah, everything's great. Like, significant progress continues to be made. I'm gonna you'll have the flip book announced to you soon, and then perhaps that will make a tangible upgrade and perhaps tangible evidence of what's going on, because I know you guys crave that on your senses. And that's all. Yeah. Any other questions? Do you guys need anything? Yeah. Do you guys need a forehead kiss? Yeah. Elizio, it's fine. Like, I don't know. Yeah. Yeah, like, it's fine. Legitimately, like the whole thing about red candles can't kill this project is true. Do you guys get that? Like, if anything, the best part about streaming once a week is that when we get a new user base, they won't have these withdrawals from having me stream 4 times a week. Yeah. Yeah, I can't wait to dilute the thirst for streaming, because legitimately streaming, especially on those days where we were doing, like, you know, multiple hours, those don't actually, like, it just doesn't actually move the needle, right? And I guess it's good that you guys see that I'm alive and you guys see that there's new updates and stuff, but, like, this is happening significantly faster than if we were streaming 4 times a week. But I don't regret doing that, because I think there's a lot of content in that. I guess the word I was thinking was trove, and that we can it can be repurposed later. Yeah, that's what this is. Okay. All right. Well, thanks for coming to the PYRESWAP show. I'm gonna sign off now. See you guys next week, and goodbye.